The boys are back. The boys are back. Yeah, we are training with no corona, and it seems that Luis Suarez looks fat. What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here. Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and cringe is exactly what we do best here. I wanted to start off by making up this video saying that there's not too much transfer news going on, but there's a lot of updates that we have to take into account because, of course, Barcelona have returned to first team training today on Friday. So it's going to be very important that you hear those out. But if you allow me, let's start off with that very first transfer news, the only one that we got for this episode. Indeed, yes, the very first transfer news involves a swap deal, and it seems that Barcelona is wanting to become the swap deal king because it's the only thing that it's ever talked about when it comes to us getting rid of players. And the player that we're trying to get rid of in question here is one that we shouldn't let go at any means, and that is Arthur leaving to Juventus in return for Miralem Pjanic. The news came out today saying that Barcelona has agreed a move with Pjanic, and that is where things for me got a little bit I was very nervous, to say the least. I woke up and I saw big red light. Pjanic to Barcelona moved agreed, and I was like, nah. If you heard my first video on this topic, you will know that I was not greenlining this move. For me, that shouldn't happen by any means. Barcelona shouldn't be getting a player like Pjanic. At 30 years old, I don't think he's really worth that while. It's gonna be another situation like Rakitic very soon, and I do not want us to repeat that same mistake of giving too much of a long contract to a player that in reality only has at least 1 or 2 more years at the top of his level. However, between reading that news early in the morning and to the point where I'm recording this video now, which is kind of like around midday, the news got completely turned upside down because now it seems from reports from Goal, it's saying that the deal is completely off because Barcelona are not trying to get rid of Arthur, or at least not in a deal that is not involving straight up cash. And it has to be a lot of money because, of course, they're trying to get one of their 2 big targets, which we all know are Lautaro Martinez and Neymar. So it seems that this is all over the place, and Gazzetta dello Sport got it wrong at the very start of the day. But if I'm being honest, I am in this position where I have a lot of people of you watching. I would say that I wouldn't trust it. I would keep myself to just all options being open, because at this stage I cannot tell you which news is more reliable than the other. I think that what we know so far is that Artur doesn't want to leave Barcelona, and I also think we know that Barcelona wouldn't be 100% against selling Artur. But any news apart from that, I think is just complete BS. All of the other things are not facts, so you gotta be very wary of what you read. And one final piece of info that I want to add to this story that I forgot about is that if Arthur is not going to be the player in case, being, you know, the swap deal, he's not going to be included, then Rakitic or Vidal will be included as well. And of course, that doesn't match the valuation, of which the current market value of Pjanic is around 52 million euros, because Rakitic is worth right now like 18 and Vidal the same. Then Barcelona will have to pay up more cash straight up. And that's literally the worst possible deal we could do, offering Rakitic or Vidal plus money to get someone like Pjanic. Why would we do that? There's no point. Barcelona shouldn't be wasting their budget on Pjanic, not because he's a bad player, but just because we don't need him. The next bit of news involves the boys returning to training. Barcelona is back in training on Friday. You might have already seen some pictures, some kind of videos from the FC Barcelona channel here on YouTube or Twitter, all of that. And yes, indeed, they are back. And the very first thing that I was kind of a little bit not worried about, but just kind of surprised or intrigued by, was that how exactly are they gonna be training? Do they mean individual training? Like each of them have slots of like 1 hour where they have to go and train on the field, or they split the kind of training ground into 4 and then each one has a section? I'm not too sure what's going on, but you could see the coaches, they were wearing the mask, they were wearing the gloves, but the players weren't necessarily. And this is something that for me is kind of already making me a little bit not necessarily worried for the games when they return, but it just makes me kind of nervous to see what's going to happen and what measures are going to be taken. Are the players going to be wearing masks as well? Are they going to be wearing the gloves? Because for instance, as soon as I kind of came to record this video, it was reported that Renan Lodi, the left back from Atletico Madrid, indeed has coronavirus. He has COVID-19. So probably all the Atletico Madrid team are not going to be able to play now, surely, because they're going to have to spend those 2 weeks in quarantine to see if that kind of infection has spread out to the rest of the squad. And if that means it's gonna happen, then La Liga won't resume until later, because then we'll have to retest again and again and again and again. And it's just kind of like a situation where we never want to be in, but we must be very careful in the way that we resume things, because Bundesliga is restarting May 16th next Saturday. Bundesliga is coming back, and we know that some reports already from Javier Aguirre, which is the manager of Leganés. He made a kind of, I think, face-to-face interview, not face-to-face of course, you know, like face cam, with ESPN, and he said that he was going to return La Liga from what he known in June 20. So there seems to be a very big disparity into what the different leagues and federations seem is the right time to restart football. Bundesliga thinks it's okay to restart next week, while La Liga thinks it's not good enough in the next following kind of 4 weeks. So it's just very interesting to see. I think that, in all honesty, the whole of the European League should agree on a date or something like that. I know, of course, the different situations in the countries are different, but it's the best way to deal with it, because then what is gonna happen? Bundesliga restarts the game earlier and they finish their season like 2 weeks before everyone else in Europe finishes it. But then what happens if that restarts and makes the spreading of coronavirus happen again? So many questions, so many different things, and I wouldn't like being the guy making those decisions, that's for sure. And the last piece of news also involves coronavirus in a way. Everything nowadays involves COVID-19, let's be honest. Even monetization on YouTube involves. If you say coronavirus too much or put it on the title in your video, you get demonetized. That's the thing. But yeah, it seems that a lot of course of this situation is affecting the market value of a lot of players, and one of those players is Neymar. And reportedly, some few days ago, TRANSFERMARKT released their new statements of players, their new statistics of how much they're going to be valued, and Neymar almost reduced for around 20%. And he went from being worth around 150 million all the way to 130 million euros, which technically is 128 million euros, but you know how the world is. So 130 million euros, that's kind of what Neymar is valued right now. If I do say so myself, I think there's a benefit to COVID-19 affecting the market values of football, of the players there, because it's just going crazy. The last few years we've been increasing. Like I say, Coutinho was worth 145 million euros, guys. Coutinho was not worth that to begin with. He will never be, but he was worth that. So that's kind of how crazy teams are going. And I actually made a video discussing this. It's not uploaded on the channel, but it's on its way, where I kind of talk about all the top 10 transfers, and if you really take a look in depth at them, so if you take a look from Hazard to Bale, Pogba, Neymar, Cristiano Ronaldo, Mbappe, all of them, you take a look at them, and actually probably at least kind of 3 of those transfers, top tier transfers, you know, more than 100 million euros, most of them barely succeed. So I guess it's gonna be very interesting, guys, to see your reaction on that video, because it really tells you how football is going and how basically ludicrous it's becoming. But you're gonna be asking then, how will this affect, of course, Barcelona's interest on Neymar? And this will certainly make it a little more feasible for Barca to get this player. And of course, the budget, which is currently, I don't know, I think it's around 80 million euros, is always what Barcelona have. If you add that kind of sales and transfers, all of that, I think that would be much better to kind of handle if they really wanted to bring in Neymar, but it's still way out of what we should actually be aiming for. If we're trying to get Lautaro Martinez for 60 million euros plus the players of the players we have offered, then we probably don't have enough money to make an offer for Neymar, surely, even though his market value has decreased. And now, guys, almost trying to close off this video, I wanted to read you out some of the other players which values have decreased a lot due to this entire situation. And you will see a pattern that most of the players which values have decreased are players who are also not enjoying a good time at their clubs. Not all of them, but it does make a good kind of way for us to think about it. So we have Eden Hazard going down from 150 million euros all the way down to 80 million euros. That's a big downgrade. Neymar is not that big. Dembélé also is going down from around 100 million euros all the way down to 56. Damn, that's a big gap. You have Philippe Coutinho doing the exact same thing, now to 56 million euros as well. Other players, for instance here, Luka Jovic and Marcos Asensio from Real Madrid, they were both previously valued at 60 million euros before the situation of coronavirus, and now they're actually being worth at around 32 million euros. So that's a very big drop. And other players here, for instance, you have Thiago Alcantara, Bayern Munich ex-Barcelona, he was previously worth 70 million euros and now 48. So you see that this is actually affecting a lot, and players that are gonna be going in the market before for 60 million euros, I think they're gonna be going for around 50 and 40. Of course, clubs are not going to want to get rid of them very easily. For instance, you may say that, oh, Manchester City, if they kind of do not qualify to UCL, let's say De Bruyne wants to leave, they're not going to be telling clubs, okay, you can get De Bruyne for around 70 million euros. No, they of course are going to be demanding 90. But when those kind of weeks and days starts counting down and you actually need the money because clubs have been losing so much money, that's when the things is going to get real. So that's gonna be everything for today, guys. Hope you have enjoyed. Just before leaving, guys, I made a video before, a short analysis on Francisco Trincao coming to Barcelona and comparing him to some players of under 21 just to see how actually good he is. So I think you're gonna have a good time if you go and check it out. But for now, let me of course know in the comment box down below, what do you think of this situation of the players of Barcelona returning to training? Do you think La Liga is gonna be back into shape? And of course, let me know what do you think of the entire COVID-19, how you're spending your time in quarantine. Let me know down there below. That's gonna be it for the time being. See you in the next one. Take care. Ciao.